It's a great pleasure for me. Have a new interview today. We have with Richard van der Boogaart. It's okay, your name?
Yeah, it's from Humphrey Bogart, the famous movie star. But I'm not a relative, so I don't have any money left. That's why I'm in this business.
From World Freight Logistic of Netherlands. I am very happy to stay with you today. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Let me a little bit about your company.
I started this company. Actually, it was I started a company in 1997. That was under the umbrella of a large shipping line company, and they gave me some shares inside that company. I started with zero. Actually, I started with my experience and my contacts. After a couple of years, this company decided to merge with other shipping line agents, and they become one of the biggest one at that time in Rotterdam. Now, I think they merged with 5 or 6 companies, and all those companies, they have a similar freight forwarding division in total. So this was not actually the agreement which I made with them when I started. I said, okay, you approached me. You want to go more in the NVOCC as a shipping line agent because it should give you more opportunities. I already had 20 years experience in that field. So that was one of the reasons, and I also know the managers, the directors, everything like that. So we started to work and we were quite successful. After 2 years, we were making a very good income. But because of the merge with all the other companies inside the whole organization, there was too many companies doing the same kind of business. Now, if you merge, you want to try to put everything together, and most of the time they said, the good things we keep and the bad things we throw out. That's the reason why, they want to merge. Like, for example, every company has a telephone operator, accounting department. So what you do is you try to save money on that part, which I understand because that's the reason why you merge. So I try to become, because me and my partner, we both had 10%, and I tried to get the majority of that company. But regretfully, that was not possible because, and I was also having the idea that if you are in a big company but still be independent, you can have a lot of spin-off. You can get a lot of extras outside from all the companies. But unfortunately, they didn't want to give me the majority. Then I tried to purchase the whole company. That was also not going to happen because within this big merge, what they were doing, they also divided the shares from the new organization for various companies. And because we were doing quite okay, my mother company should get also one of the biggest shares. They should get something like 65% of the shares. But what they did is they put all the companies together. They see the revenue and say, okay, we are entitled to get 65% of that. So I decided to quit. And what I told you, when I started, there was nothing, only my contact. I started a new company, World Freight Logistics. After 2 months, I got some legal difficulties with my former company, the one so after a while, after some negotiation, I decided to buy that company as well. So I had 2 freight forwarding companies. So I didn't want to change back to the old name. I didn't want to, because I said, yeah, if I go back to my agents and if I go back to my contacts and say, okay, now everybody was following me, the thing is we didn't lose any account. Everybody was following me. So I thought, you know what, we continue with that. And then we let that other company run as well. So I had two freight forwarding companies. Now, my specialty at that time, and I'm talking about 20 years ago, was mainly in the NVO LCL business. So we were doing quite a lot of consolidation, ex-Asia to Asia, USA. That was our main business. But, you know, the consolidation became more and more difficult, especially on the refunds. You know, there were, especially in China, they were giving ridiculous refunds, like you need to give back the agent $150 per cubic meter and $160 per cubic meter, plus all the. So after a while, I decided to say to the agent, you know, I stopped with that. And we were agent for a quite big group of companies. I said, because I'm losing my face in the market, because the local charges we had to increase, you know.
Yes.
So giving back $160, $170 per cubic meter, that means that you have to charge something like €200 per cubic meter. Local charges. Now, if you have 10 CBM, you know, you have to charge the final receiver €2,000. But a container THC is only 190. So I said, I'm not going to, you know, sound ridiculous or like a fool. Even I am instructed by the overseas party. I said, I don't have a problem with that, but mention that on your house BL. Put on your house BL what need to be charged in Rotterdam. I said, because then I can say, I'm just following the instructions of the overseas party. So after a while, I decided we were getting containers with 2 containers with 50 BLs. I had two staff working only on that. At the end of the day, I had $100 with 50 BLs. You know, so I decided to stop with this LCL business, which actually now is more or less in hands of the main consolidators, you know, like Vanguard, like SSL, and, you know, AQ Line, they are controlling the market. Honestly speaking, I was the first one ever in the world starting with LCL 40 years ago. Yes, because we were actually starting LCL, doing LCL to the US and to Canada. At that time, it was not existing. And we came in contact. So I'm stepping from one till the other, because you said tell something about the past as well. But we came in contact something like 25 years ago. It's no longer, 30 years ago, with a Taiwanese guy. And he came from air freight. And what the guy did is you had some main hubs in the world by air freight. And he draw with a different color of wool. He had a world map behind him, and he draw, so you could go from Hong Kong to Dubai, and from Dubai you could go to Hamburg, you could go to, there were not so many direct service. So he came with that idea, and then he was going to do the same, but then on LCL business. So he put different kind of destinations in one container. And at that time, you were not able to go to Shanghai. Shanghai was, all the cargo from China was going to Hong Kong with these smaller wooden vessels. And then it arrived in Hong Kong, and then they were sending it by container to Dubai, Rotterdam. That were the hubs. Miami, you know, Singapore was a hub for it. So we started with that. We actually were the first, and we were getting containers from Hong Kong, Taiwan, Korea, all together inside different destinations, Casablanca, Tangier, Canary Islands, Spain, you name it. So it arrives everywhere. It arrives in our warehouse. We stripped the container, we combined, we sold the same services out of Rotterdam, and we started new containers going to Canary Islands, Portugal. So this was actually the beginning of the LCL business. And I can say we were, my former boss, we were the first one doing that. So that is the history about that. So LCL business was actually something like a baby, you know, but okay, babies are growing up and sometimes you have to let them go, you know, you have to let them go. So I decided to stop with that, and we continue with the FCL business, mainly mainly to and from Asia. That was our main market. Times changed, revenues became lower and lower. Container to Singapore, $50. Container to Shanghai, $50. What can you make? What can you make? So we said, you know, we have to focus on other areas. So we went to the Middle East. We went to Central Asia. That means Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan. And we were also doing some destinations in the Middle East, like Syria, like Iraq, like Iran. We were doing quite a lot of business to Iran, because from Iran, you can also go with the containers to all those destinations in Central Asia. Now, I was always the person who looked for niche markets, smaller markets where nobody was going to. When the Dutch army was sent as a UN force to Afghanistan, I was the first one for a long period moving all these containers with equipment for the Dutch army, but also, I'm not saying arms, but more like food, you know, for the militaries. And Cunanago and Panalpina, they were using my service because they were not knowing how I was doing that. Later on, they discover and they started to do themselves. That's always when you are the first one. You know, it's a copy-paste story, and then at the end, you lose. So I always try to find something else. So the Middle East market was doing quite okay for us, but also very competitive, especially going to Central Asia. Then I decided to go back to the Asian market. The Asian market developed a little bit better. I also deal with old contacts. So Asia, Middle East, that were our main markets. USA, Canada, not so much. We do quite a lot. We did quite a lot of business from the US, and another niche market. We collecting for private people, but also for some companies, American cars, muscle cars, Mustang, Porsches, Camaros.
Beautiful cars.
So yeah, for you and me, it's beautiful cars, but the new generation, they don't care about these cars anymore. So we had a lot of Mustangs, we had a lot of Camaros, all those cars. We had 4 hubs in the US, in Los Angeles, in Houston, Miami, and also New York. We were doing that all ourselves. We had an agent who stuffed the container, but everything was controlled by us. From our side. Now, at the time that €1, $1 was 160. So a lot of people were buying cars, not only vintage cars, classic cars, but also new cars, like a brand new Porsche. There was a difference of 25% or even more. And even with the import duties and taxes, still was quite okay. So we were having every month around 50, 60 containers with cars. So we loaded 2, 3 cars in one container, and we were consolidating that ourselves. But then you get the environmental protection regulations in Europe. People don't want to have the old timers, classic cars anymore. The younger guys wants to have the new version. And I quite often explain to, I said, yeah, what happened with the classic car? I said, now, let me tell you, when I was young, somebody asked me if I want to have a ride in a Mustang 1964 convertible. And when I was saying, oh, you know, in the future, when I have money, I will buy a car like that. So then you come to that age, around 30, 35 years old, you have a little bit of money and you buy that car. And that is the generation which is buying the Camaros, the Mustangs, everything like that, the muscle cars. Now you have this generation, they call them young timers, you know, so they are buying the Mercedes, the Porsches from 1990. They are not interested in the cars from, they like to see it, but they're not interested to buy. But if you think yourself, you from that age, and think, do you like a T-Ford? Do you like this old four-wheel Ford? It's nice to see, but not to drive with it. So the generations also change in the cars which you are importing. But it's what I said, the environmental protection. We had the advantage in Rotterdam that when we were doing the imports of classic cars, the import duty was only 6%. Only 6% VAT. While in Hamburg, in Germany and in Belgium, you had to pay 10% and the local VAT, which was in Belgium 21%, in Germany 90%, but in Holland was only 6%. So all the classic cars came to Rotterdam for Austria, Germany, whatever. We did the custom clearance. The moment that is custom cleared, it becomes an EU car, and you can bring it into Germany. You don't need to pay additional taxes or VAT. So this is also part of the business which we have done actually already for a long time. Now it's picking up a little bit. In the meantime, we are getting cars from Australia, we're getting cars from South Africa, we're getting cars from. So we are also strong in that business of cars. And now we do quite a lot of export of cars going into the Middle East. Also used cars. Suddenly they start to buy there. And we have some customers, they buy in Germany, they buy in Belgium, and we do the consolidation and send them to Dubai. And from Dubai, they go to Abu Dhabi and they go to other places. So this is a little bit what we're doing. Now, coming back to what we do now.
Yes, Richard, talking about the crisis of container, I know that have new service like a train from China to Europe. What do you think about the situation of the containers today? And if you know something about the new service of train, the rail train?
Yeah, now the train is already going for quite a while, you know. The train service to Russia and China, you have, it's already, especially one to Russia, it's called the Trans-Siberian Railway. And this service is still existing. And it's going all the way from Rotterdam up to Vladivostok, which is on the other side of China. That's something already for years. Of course, now you get these new train services from China into Europe. To be honest, we handle those containers as well. We get them in. We have to custom clear them and deliver them, because there's only one service from China into the middle of Holland. But I don't believe in this whole rail system. It's never going to work. It's very much subsidized. It's very much subsidized by the Chinese government because they want to make it a success. Now, I was in a conference a few years back, and there was a presentation from Chinese guy about this service, which was in 2019, I believe. Yeah, 2019, and they make a presentation and everybody was applauding because they said that in 2019 they should have 5,000 trains from China into Europe. Each train can only get 40 feet containers. So so in total 5,000 trains is 200,000 containers on a yearly basis into Europe. But what is 200,000 containers? It's nothing. If you have one ship now with 20,000 TEUs or 25,000 TEUs, what can you compete with the train? And everybody was saying, or is saying, it's much faster, but it's not true. And why it's not true? Now I think you have 5 or 6 services from out of China into Europe. Not everything comes to the same place or come from the same station. You have some stations, they can do it from, for example, there's a station in Xi'an, in the middle of China, where you also have the terracotta army, you know, the soldiers which they found in the ground in Xi'an. They are able to do in 16 days from Xi'an up to Hamburg. That's 16 days. That is the fastest service in comparison with the ocean, which is then maybe 25, 30. In the beginning, that was okay with the number of trains, but the price were high, and everybody say, yeah, high-tech material, they want to pay for it, you know, like computers, telephone, new ones, they are the companies who are willing to pay for it. If you take the other stations, the train must go from China to Kazakhstan. In Kazakhstan, they have to change the wagon because the Russian railway wagons are wider than the one in China and the one in Europe. So they move the containers to Kazakhstan, then they do the transloading of the container on a new wagon going to Poland at the border, and then they do again put these containers on the European size wagons. It's all congestion. It's all congestion. It's congestion in Poland, it's congestion because the number of trains are increasing, but you cannot load more than 40 till 44, 40 feet per train. So even you have now 10,000 trains going into Europe, we talk about 400,000 containers on a yearly basis. And that's why I said, and I'm not
very
only
clear,
that.
very clear. It's a very small space.
But the Chinese government, you know, they have some platforms in China. They have different platforms in China. So the local platform, for example, Chengdu is a platform. So all the containers are going to Chengdu and then they go to, by rail, they come into, in Holland, for example. The local authorities give to the freight forwarder, they subsidize for $2,000 per container. So each and every container they book on the train, the forwarder get $2,000. But okay, it's not only one forwarder. Every Chinese forwarder is jumping on this new way of transportation. But it's not working. Also, you have to, now we have to wait maybe to get space 1 week, 2 weeks in Shanghai to get the container. But for the rail, it's exactly the same. It's also congestion. And then you have congestion. So all those transit times which they are mentioning, they never succeed to get 16 days from China into Rotterdam or into Hamburg. Now, not only, there's another thing which I think they forgot. In summertime, it's plus 50 in Kazakhstan and Russia. In wintertime, it's minus 50. And in one night, you can have 2 meters of snow. 2 meters of snow. So if the train comes, he cannot go high speed like what he is doing during the
summer
period. He has to go slow down. So he's losing. So he uses a plug to get the snow away. But imagine, I have seen there were walls like 5 meters high from snow because they do it. And then one night it's again 2 meters of snow. So they are going through the walls. But also the temperature minus 50, how are you going to protect your merchandise inside the container? Because if you are in a ship and the contents need to be protected, they put the container on the waterline. The waterline will never be minus or not minus 50, never. So you protect it. But how are you going to do it 10 days in minus 50 from A to B? How you protect that? These are things I think they also forgot, but everybody is focused on that. Now, Chinese government mentioned clearly that in 2023, it need to be self-supporting. If not self-supporting, they unplug it and the train service will be over. Of course, now they have an advantage because also all the trains are fully booked because the vessels don't have space. So my view on the rail service is that I said it's an alternative, but it's not the future because they will never be able to beat the number of vessels.
That is my last and my question. Richard, what are you watching for the future? I hope after the pandemic.
It's hard to say because now, Port of Ningbo closed today because of COVID. And Chinese are radical. They just, like what happened in Yantian a month ago, they just closed the port for 2 weeks. And then you got all these congestion and increase of rates. Because what happened now with worldwide, that the rates are so high, that was the results in the beginning from all the containers which were moved to the US, which were stuck inside the US because there was no return cargo because factories were closed because of COVID. Now, this is more or less solved. Not totally, but still it's solved. But what people forget something is that Chinese export also increased more than 30%. So even you should not have a pandemic, I'm wondering how they could solve that problem with the increase. Now, the increase of export, of course, it's a lot of medical equipment, which is needed for the pandemic. If I see what should be the future for that, I cannot predict because what I have seen, I'm now 47 years in this industry. So I have seen it all. I never faced problems to all trade lanes. It could happen that you had a problem to Asia, that the vessels were fully booked, but always import Asia was okay. You could have problems going to the US, but import US was okay. Now it's a drama. I cannot book until second week of September to Brazil, Argentina. I cannot book containers from outside of Europe. I cannot book to Chile. I cannot book to all Latin American countries. We are struggling and we still succeed. So far, we still have managed to get all the bookings from our overseas parties to get them on board. But I never face for such a long period on all the trade lanes. And it's not only Middle East, India, subcontinent, China, it's USA, Canada, import and export. So it's hard to say. People predict that it will go on until after Chinese New Year in next year. They expect it will still going on. Now the governments are trying to, see how they can force the shipping lines to reduce their costs. But it's a market situation, You cannot change the market. And if you see shipping lines, Hapag-Lloyd, I just read, they're going to get a 10 billion euro profit this year. All the lines, they make in average 2 till 3 billion per quarter profit. And everybody's complaining about, the shipping lines are taking advantage. But not forget, the years before the pandemic, shipping lines were in a very bad shape. We have seen Hanjin going bankrupt. We have seen that other lines had to stop because they could not compete. So for the importer and exporter, it is really something terrible. But honestly speaking, for us not. We still make our income. We make much better income than before. Because the high rates, they give you also a bigger margin. Now, so it's hard to say what the future will bring. I cannot predict, even with this long experience I have, I cannot predict. I can only expect and read what in articles are saying, I still think that it will go for a while. Now, the only thing which really affect us is we cannot go to a conference anymore. We have to do everything online. So I haven't stepped into a plane since November 2019. And I was normally traveling 3 months a year. I have around 90,000 till 95,000 air miles every year. I was fed up with the traveling. I said, I don't want to do it anymore. But now I'm missing it. I'm missing face-to-face conference. From the business-wise, it's okay, because you can say, okay, I don't have traveling costs, I don't have the hotel cost, everything like that. And, you know, I can still speak with somebody face-to-face. But that was making our life nice, you know, meeting people, getting dinner, having lunch together, increase your business. I became a member of Sky Alliance because South America, Central America, was always weak for me. And, you know, I have one disadvantage, and I think a lot of Europeans as well. We don't speak Spanish. And if you don't speak Spanish, then you already, it's 1-0 for the other part, you know, and then you have to play the game. And I speak with other ones as well from Germany and England, you know. I said, yeah, you know, that's the problem. Nowadays, of course, a lot of people already, they speak English as well.
Yes.
But I had the last conference meeting. I was invited by somebody from Peru to have the one-to-one. The lady came on and she was not speaking any word of English, but she invited me. So she asked somebody else to be there. So future is hard to tell. Future is also something, I don't know how that works in South America, but Alibaba and Amazon become more and more strong in Europe, you know, so they do the door-to-door service. This is something which we have to think about. This is a more danger for us than everything else. So how is that, for example, in South America? You have a lot of Amazon, you have a lot of...
No. The e-commerce is not coming yet to here strong, but it's the future. Because today, from Miami to South America, full of booking by air is for Amazon. That means that start push the space to the biggest e-commerce company.
That's also one of the reasons why China was increasing. It was not only because the Chinese exports increased. People in Holland or in Europe were not able to go outside to go to the shop to buy things, and they buy everything online. If you see the increase for the parcel services like DHL, UPS, FedEx, how much profit they are making because it's now all door to door. So I think that will affect more, that you will, the department stores, smaller shops, they all will disappear because people will buy online. And if they buy online, I think then more and more freight forwarding business, like what we do, will disappear. That I see for the future. That I see for the future, because if they become stronger, and all these door-to-door services, you know, Alibaba already has their own, AliExpress already have their own place. They even bought an airport in Belgium, in Ligier. So they have their own airport to do the distribution. Amazon has, I don't know how many distribution centers already in Europe, you know, and there's a lot of Chinese suppliers or Indian suppliers. They sell their products on Amazon website. So it's not Amazon who offering the merchandise, the goods. It comes from the suppliers, and people buy direct from a Chinese supplier. Of course, there are still a lot of problems, custom clearance problems. They are using the wrong HS code purposely. The value is very low. in comparison what they offer. So US customs or European customs already make new regulations for website sales. If you had something under the 500 euro, you didn't need to pay VAT. Now they make the new regulation and you have to pay VAT for all the products which you're importing. 25 euro, 30 euro, 500 euro, 1000, you have to pay the VAT, which before was not. So the product was competitive because you didn't have to pay the import duties and the VAT. But now this is going away. For the website business, EU try to protect themselves.
It's a new war. I hope we can adapt it. But it's very interesting because we have a lot of new things to do during and after this pandemic. Richard, thank you very much for your time. It's a great pleasure to know you now.
To me, it was a pleasure for me well, and it's now I'm member of Sky Alliance since last year. I attended now 3 meetings, and I really hope that I can be a support for many of the other members. One of the things which I always try to tell, and now I take the advantage also to promote that, Rotterdam is the biggest port of Europe. We are in a population of 17.5 million people. But the port of Rotterdam, we handle 15 million containers every year. Now, if I'm speaking with people from Asia, India, or whatever, and I ask them if you have cargo to Germany, which port they are using, 95% will mention Hamburg. But the first port of Germany is Rotterdam. That's why we have 50 million containers. So we do quite a lot of business. Actually, that is now at this moment, our main business is we do a lot of DDU, DDP and ex-works through Rotterdam. If you take the map from Europe and you see where is the German industrial area, it's in the middle to the south. In the middle, you have all these big companies like Siemens, Bosch. You go a little bit down, you have BASF, you have Bayer, the chemical industry. You go further down, you get the car industry. Mercedes is in Stuttgart, BMW is in Stuttgart. So all the supplies, all the parts will go to there. The German importers and exporters still prefer use the port of Rotterdam or the port of Antwerp. We can handle both. We handle both Antwerp, but our main business at this moment is via Rotterdam, going to Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Hungary, Slovakia. So this is because of our natural hinterland. We have another advantage. We have 3 parts of services. We can go by barge, we can go by rail, and we can go by truck. In Hamburg, you only have 2 options. It's by rail or it's by truck. Now, if you go by truck, the truck driver needs to go back at the end of the day, go home. But if you come through us, and we can do by barge or rail, we can leave the container in Frankfurt, in Düsseldorf, in Munich. It doesn't need to come back. So cost-wise, it's a big difference. For example, Hamburg to Düsseldorf, 475 kilometers. From Rotterdam, it's only 225. You have to go both ways. So through Rotterdam, it's only one way. Now we do the custom clearance. If we are in the EU, we can do custom clearance for all EU countries. People don't need to pay the VAT in Holland, 0%. So a lot of importers are using that facilities by using us for physical representation. We do the custom clearance and we deliver the container through the door. In comparison with Hamburg, there's a lot of advantages. And that's why I said, everybody thinks about Hamburg, Bremerhaven, that are the ports for for Germany, but actually it isn't. Otherwise, we could never handle 50 million containers on a yearly basis. So this is something I should and this is also something I always try to promote, to say, listen, and even when I go to the conference, I make a special map to present the map and to show them this is Hamburg, this is Rotterdam, this is Antwerp. You know, the #1 port for France is Antwerp. It's not Le Havre. It's not Marseille. The industrial area of France is above Paris. It's closer to Antwerp. So, and this is what I try to see, because I know in South America, Central America, there's a lot of imports and exports from Germany. We are a small country. Our industry is not so big anymore. But there's a lot of business going from and to Germany. Well, actually, they should consider to think about also moving it via Rotterdam. And members can just come, compare the price with their agent in Hamburg, or with the member in Hamburg, or with us, and then we will see who has the best price. So I thought this is the opportunity. I also mentioned that Rotterdam is the biggest port, but is also the #1 port for Germany.
It's very interesting because everyone wants to make a conference in Holland, and I hope in the near future we can do something there, because it's a beautiful country.
No, I tell you honestly, we are quite okay now with the pandemic. We don't need to do any protection anymore. Already not from the beginning, you know. We were very flexible. Of course, we had also problems with it, but we never had a full lockdown. We never had a full lockdown. I went from day #1 till now every day to the office. I never stay home. Because, and it was quite okay, because a lot of people stay at home. It took me 10 minutes to come to the office instead of half an hour.
Beautiful. Richard, yeah. Thank you very much for your time.
Welcome.
I hope to see you in person soon.
Yes, yes. So when is your, because I thought that you were making a planning somewhere in Miami in October?
Yes, we are working very hard to make a good organization of our Miami conference. We are checking the situation every day, but I hope for that time everything's go okay.
I mean to say, I see also now because of this new mutation, you know, the Delta, I think the number also going up again in the US. You know, a number of especially in Texas and also Florida, I've seen that the numbers are going up. So honestly, feeling wise, I think this year conferences will be very difficult. China is doing a lot of conferences, but it's locally. And what they do now is they do a booth conference. So you take a booth, what you also did, you know, you have a booth, people, because they expect in Ningbo, they have a big conference. They expect 20,000 visitors, but only Chinese.
Yes, but because it's not allowed to the foreign people go, because they have a lot of restrictions. But you know, we have time. We have time.
I tell you honestly, I think this year, maybe next year, May, from March, May, we can start again with having conferences, because even, you know, Europe is quite okay and Europe can travel, but still you have a lot of countries which cannot.
You know, we make a lot of virtual activities. I will say to complete true. I hate it. I hate it because I love stay with people. I love to enjoy and make a good conference, offering a lot of things, activities, because my business is make the people feel well to developing more business. By the way, we are not outside of believe that this year we can do something good yet. But the first thing is the health of the members, and we are not pushing. I'm checking every day to know what is the real situation in Miami and what is the real situation around the world for the looking for.
I think a lot of people wants to travel, but if it comes to the end, they're all scared, you know, and maybe hesitate to do that. Just I think that but even a lot of people are fully vaccinated, you still can get the you know, the virus and or the new virus. Now I believe there is a Colombian
or the new.
Yeah, so I think that when we have the full vaccination, maybe 3 shots, then people feel quite okay. I'm actually totally vaccinated already, so I'm ready to travel. But the only place where I can go now without any problem is Dubai.
Is go to golf, go to play golf.
Dubai is the best place now to travel. You can go there, the prices are okay. It's also a very good place for a conference because it's you know, it's located in the middle, and you have a lot of direct flights.
I am completely agree with you. Richard, thank you very much for your time.
Welcome. You're welcome.
I hope to see you in our second Freight Forwarder Virtual Expo. That's it's a virtual with a booth, but yeah, it is the thing we have now.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we have to. It's already good that it is organized. At least you stay in contact with the people. You know, everybody prefer to travel and meet each other, but it's already good to have an opportunity to speak with somebody on the other side. And the only funny thing is that everybody is joining this kind of conferences online. Now I already do more Zoom conferences myself. If I want to speak with my agent, in the past you pick up the phone. Now you say, "Hey, let's have a Zoom conference." You know what I mean? So it's already going on like that. No, it was a big pleasure for me, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and also to do the promotion. And then hopefully we can see each other soon.
I hope to see you soon, and have a nice day, my friend.
Same to you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.